He was handsome, intelligent, charismatic. But behind Ted Bundy's perfect smile was one of the most terrifying serial killers in American history. A man who confessed to over 30 murders and likely committed many more. This is the story of the charming monster, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. Raised by his grandparents, Ted grew up believing his mother was his sister. Secrets and lies followed him from the very beginning. As a teenager, Ted Bundy was quiet, socially awkward, and deeply insecure. He struggled to fit in and often felt alienated from his peers. Behind closed doors, he developed a fascination with violent crime. Bundy would spend hours reading detective magazines, studying stories of kidnapping and murder, and even kept a scrapbook filled with articles about real-life tragedies. Some of these clippings focused on sexual violence and graphic detail, early signs of a mind spiraling into darkness. But as he entered adulthood, something changed. Bundy began to refine his image. He became articulate, confident, even charming. By the time he enrolled at the University of Washington, majoring in psychology, he wore clean suits, spoke eloquently, and impressed both professors and classmates. He volunteered at a suicide crisis center and built relationships with respected professionals, including author Anne Rule, who would later write a best-selling book about him. To the outside world, Ted Bundy appeared to be a young man with potential, a rising star with a bright future. But behind that carefully constructed facade was something far more sinister. The darkness hadn't disappeared. It had evolved, hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to erupt. In 1974, women began disappearing in Washington state. All young, all attractive, all resembling Bundy's ex-girlfriend. Bundy had a pattern. He'd fake an injury or impersonate a cop, then lure his victims to his car, often a tan Volkswagen Beetle. He bludgeoned and strangled them, sometimes returning to the crime scenes days later. Ted said, "Just wait a moment, and they will come back on." I didn't realize until later what had happened. The prisoner knew that his executioners were testing the electric chair that would take his life the next morning. Ted Bundy wanted to tell the world about pornography. What was it that Ted Bundy was so anxious to say? He felt he owed it to society to warn of the dangers of hardcore pornography and to explain how it had led him to murder so many innocent women and girls. With tears in his eyes, he described the monster that took possession of him when he had been drinking. His craze to kill was always inflamed by violent pornography. Quoted below is an edited transcript of the conversation that occurred just 17 hours before Ted was led to the electric chair. James C. Dobson. It is about 2:30 in the afternoon. You are scheduled to be executed tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock if you don't receive another stay. What is going through your mind? What thoughts have you had in these last few days? Ted, I won't kid you to say it is something I feel I'm in control of or have come to terms with. It's a moment-by-moment thing. Sometimes I feel very tranquil, and other times I don't feel tranquil at all. What's going through my mind right now, is to use the minutes and hours I have left as fruitfully as possible. It helps to live in the moment, in the essence, that we use it productively. Right now I'm feeling calm, in large part because I'm here with you. JCD, for the record, you are guilty of killing many women and girls. Ted, yes, that's true. JCD, how did it happen? Take me back. What are the antecedents of the behavior that we've seen? You were raised in what you consider to be a healthy home. You were not physically, sexually, or emotionally abused. Ted, no. And that's part of the tragedy of this whole situation. I grew up in a wonderful home with 2 dedicated and loving parents, as one of 5 brothers and sisters. We, as children, were the focus of my parents' lives. We regularly attended church. My parents did not drink or smoke or gamble. There was no physical abuse or fighting in the home. I'm not saying it was leave it to Beaver, but it was a fine, solid Christian home. I hope no one will try to take the easy way out of this and accuse my family of contributing to this. I know, and I'm trying to tell you as honestly as I know how, what happened. As a young boy of 12 or 13, I encountered outside the home, in the local grocery and drugstores, soft-core pornography. Young boys explore the sideways and byways of their neighborhoods, and in our neighborhood, people would dump the garbage. From time to time, we would come across books of a harder nature, more graphic. This also included detective magazines, etc. And I want to emphasize this. The most damaging kind of pornography, and I'm talking from hard, real, personal experience, is that involves violence and sexual violence. The wedding of those 2 forces, as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is too terrible to describe. JCD, walk me through that. What was going on in your mind at that time? Ted, before we go any further, it is important to me that people believe what I'm saying. I'm not blaming pornography. I'm not saying it caused me to go out and do certain things. I take full responsibility for all the things that I've done. That's not the question here. The issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behavior. Bundy was arrested in 1975 in Utah after a routine traffic stop. Inside his car, handcuffs, rope, a ski mask. Suspicious, but not yet enough to convict him for murder. In 1977, Bundy escaped twice. First, from a courthouse library, then from jail by cutting a hole in the ceiling. Just weeks later, he attacked a Florida sorority house. 2 women dead, 3 more severely injured. His final victim, 12-year-old Kimberly Leach.
Jury heard the final arguments in the case against Theodore Bundy, who was accused of murdering 2 young ladies in a Florida State University sorority house in 1978. The verdict is now in, and here's Diane Wildman.
After 6.5 hours of deliberation, the jury had a verdict. 32-year-old Theodore Bundy remained composed as he listened.
Defendant Theodore Robert Bundy, as to count 2 of the indictment, murder in the first degree upon one Margaret Bowman, guilty as charged.
Guilty of first-degree murder in the strangling deaths of 2 Florida State University sorority sisters 19 months ago. Guilty of the attempted murder of 3 other women students the same night. The jury had heard 49 prosecution witnesses during the 4.5-week trial, including one who said she saw Bundy at the sorority house the night of the killings. Prosecutors said their case was a strong one all along.
We're very satisfied with what verdict we did get in this case. We couldn't have expected it to be any better than it was. We had a very good jury, people that we felt had a lot of common sense and would approach this thing from a common sense point of view. We're just very satisfied.
Did you think you had a week?
Bundy's mother said her son will appeal the decision.
It's wrong. We'll appeal it. It's just... What else can I say? The family will be devastated by this, but we stick behind him because we know he's not guilty, as do all his friends.
The jury will remain sequestered until Saturday, when the sentencing phase of the trial begins. At that time, it will be decided if Bundy receives a penalty of life in prison or death in the electric chair. Diane Wildman, NBC News, Miami.